In this video, we're going to install EmuDeck, a free emulation tool for the Steam Deck that makes it incredibly easy to play all of our retro games from consoles like the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and more inside SteamOS Gaming Mode. I'll be guiding us step by step through the latest setup process, from installing emulators, configuring important files, and adding our retro games and playing them in gaming mode with our own easy to customize cover art library. The first thing we want to do after turning on our Steam Deck is press the Steam button and go to Settings, and on the System tab we just want to make sure to check for updates, and if required, update to the latest version. Before we install EmuDeck, we want to decide if we want our retro games stored on the Steam Deck's internal drive or a microSD card. So let's quickly go down to Storage. If you have a microSD card, now is a great opportunity to insert this, and once it appears in SteamOS, we can go ahead and press Y to format the drive, where we can name the card to Games and press Confirm. Once the format is complete, the microSD card will be all ready to start installing games. Once we're all updated and ready, let's press the Steam button again, go down to Power and choose Switch to Desktop Mode. In Desktop Mode, we want to run our web browser, press our X button to show the Steam keyboard, and search for the EmuDeck official website. Inside, I recommend taking a few moments to read through the front page and also visit the manual and take some time to read through this, as after the video is done and we're all set up, this will be a great place to reference any troubleshooting and frequently asked questions. So let's go back to the main EmuDeck homepage, find Download, choose SteamOS, and on the window that appears, we want to choose the free download option. Although, have a read through the EA version of EmuDeck and consider supporting the team's Patreon for extra perks such as save game cloud sync, one-to-one support, and more. So we're going to choose free download and download the setup to our downloads folder. Now on the taskbar, we can open our file browser and on the left-hand side, navigate to our downloads folder. And we simply want to double tap on the EmuDeck setup. Choose Execute and press Continue. And now the EmuDeck setup process will begin, and on the welcome screen, we'll be provided with two options, Easy Mode or Custom Mode. For this guide, we're going to choose Custom Mode so that we can configure our emulators to behave and present themselves the way we want to. First, we want to choose whether we want our retro games on our SD card, internal drive, or an external drive connected via USB-C. For this video, I'm going to choose my 1TB internal drive, but if you have your microSD card set up, you can choose that here too. Once selected, press Next, and on the next screen, we're going to choose Steam Deck. But if you have an ROG Ally, Legion Go, or any other device, we can just choose Steam Deck and it will all work out the same in the end. So press Next, and we're going to be asked about our level of integration. Here, we want to choose Highest, as this will allow us to use the Steam ROM Manager for complete control over which games appear in gaming mode, as well as managing our cover art easily. So I'm going to choose this and press Next. And on this screen, we're going to see all the emulators that EmuDeck wants to install by default. And after installing, these are going to appear in the application launcher in the bottom left of desktop mode, and also will be available in gaming mode if you want to launch them separately, but also they will be configured to run the games we add later and launch in gaming mode. So it's up to you if you want to untick some of these for whatever reason, but for this guide, I'm going to include every emulator just in case I ever want to use them in the future, and press Next. Now, for Configure Autosave, I recommend choosing On, as this will make sure our games autosave the state from where we left off if we close out. So when we play again, our game will resume from where we were. But make sure to note that this feature only applies to the consoles listed on the left-hand side. On the next screen, we can log in to Retro Achievements if we wish and take advantage of custom achievements in classic games from the Retro Achievements community. So, if you want to check this out, just visit their website here and see if this is something for you. Here, we can turn our game bezels on or off for the systems listed on the left-hand side. On this occasion, I'm going to turn them on and press Next. For our Sega Retro consoles, we can change our aspect ratio from 4:3 to 3:2, and I'm going to choose 3:2 for the extra screen size. And the same for our Nintendo, NES and SNES systems, we can choose between 4:3 and 8:7. I'm going to choose the original 4:3, and for Dreamcast and N64, we can choose between 4:3 and 16:9. And I prefer playing these in widescreen, so I'm going to choose 16:9 and press Next. And lastly, for aspect ratios, we have GameCube specifically, 4:3 or 16:9. And again, I'm going to choose widescreen, 16:9, and press Next. On the next few screens, we can set an LCD shader for the retro handhelds listed on the left. and a CRT shader for the retro consoles, and also a CRT shader for 3D games. I'm going to choose off for all three of these and press next. And lastly, we can decide on our controller layout for Nintendo, whether we want A swapped with B or for A to remain where it is. And on the final screen, we'll get a report of all the emulators that EmuDeck is going to install and configure, and all of our customizations that we've just set listed on the right hand side. Once we're happy with those changes, let's go ahead, press finish, and the EmuDeck install process will begin. And here we may need to wait up to about 10 to 20 minutes or longer depending on our internet connection, as EmuDeck is going to download, install and configure all of our emulators. So let's take a break, go for a walk, grab a drink, and after some time the process will finish. Once done, we'll land on a successful post-install screen telling us that our emulators have finished installing. So let's go ahead and press next, and on this screen, because we're dealing with a fresh EmuDeck install, let's choose manual copy, and afterwards open the emulation folder and we'll get a message telling us where we can copy our games. So let's press close and navigate to our home folder in our file browser. And we'll see our emulation folder, which has been created by EmuDeck. And inside here, we'll see our BIOS folder and our ROMs folder with all the different consoles available to use. But before we copy our ROMs, let's go ahead and get our BIOS files out the way, which are required to run PS1, PS2, Xbox, Dreamcast and Sega Saturn games. There are more consoles which do require BIOS and system files, such as the PS3, PS4 and Switch, but those won't be covered in this video. Installing BIOS files is pretty easy, and I'm going to put each folder side by side and drag my BIOS files for the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, PS1 and PS2 directly inside the BIOS folder. No need to put them inside their own folders, they can just exist here. The Game Boy BIOS files are only needed if you like to see the Game Boy logo animations whenever you launch games. But for PS1 and PS2, we need these files for the emulators to launch games. If you want to know how and where to get the BIOS files from your own consoles, check out the EmuDeck manual linked in the description. I'm going to do the same quickly for Sega Saturn and Xbox, and use this opportunity to add any other systems that you want to, and we can get those done now. Once all the BIOS files are out of the way, we can go ahead and copy our retro games into our ROMs folder. So for example, if I open the ROMs folder and have a bunch of Dreamcast games, I'm going to grab my game files and copy and paste them into the ROMs Dreamcast folder like so. And if I do the same for PS1, which is inside the PSX folder, and copy and paste all of those, I'll have those appear ready to play later. And I'll fast forward this part as I finish off my NES, Game Boy Advance, PS2, PSP and GameCube games. So this is really the part where you take your time putting all the relevant games with their consoles. And each time we want to add games, we need to do this before the next part, where we're going to go back to EmuDeck, press next and launch the Steam ROM Manager and press finish. Now as this is just the first setup process, and every time we want to add games, we'll launch EmuDeck from the desktop and come to this screen and launch the Steam ROM Manager from the left hand side, where we'll be prompted that Steam needs to be closed, but this will reopen when we return to gaming mode. Now in the main EmuDeck menu, we can see we can manage emulators, read the latest news and updates, visit the store, change our initial settings from custom mode, and much more. So explore through this to see what extra features you can change. Now to get our games added, we need to make one important change. We're going to select Manage Emulators and scroll to the very bottom. And under Manage Your Tools and Front Ends, we're going to select Steam ROM Manager. And it's important to choose Reset Configuration here before running the Steam ROM Manager from the left hand side for the first time. So once loaded and we're on the welcome screen, we'll see that our path is set correctly, and we'll see the Steam Deck wallpaper in the background, where we want to go ahead and press next, and on this screen we can safely proceed without changing any of the toggles. But if there are systems you want to or don't want to add games for, just come through these and change as you wish. But with all our games copied into our ROMs folder, we're going to choose Add Games, and on the next screen we want to choose Parse. And now the Steam ROM Manager is going to scan our ROMs folder and download cover art for each of our games. And in here we can press the arrow buttons to swap between different covers that will appear in gaming mode, or we can select and apply our own if we have them in other folders. But most of the time, Steam ROM Manager does an excellent job of grabbing the official key cover art for our retro games. So once we're happy with how everything is going to look, we need to press the Save to Steam button and all of our changes will be applied, and our games will now appear in gaming mode. So finally, let's go back to our desktop and return to gaming mode. Now back in gaming mode, let's press the Steam button, select Library, and with R1, switch to the Collections tab. And in here, we'll see all of our consoles chosen containing the games that we've added to our ROMs folder. So if I go inside my Mega Drive folder, we can see that I have a game called Truxton. And when booted, I can relive a childhood classic from inside SteamOS Gaming Mode with full controller support. And when finished, I can just press the Steam button and exit and go to my NES folder and play Battletoads, which will include the bezels because I selected those during the first time setup. And if I want to play Tony Hawk's on the PS1, which I'm really thankful we got a remake for after playing this again, I can just launch from SteamOS, and because I pasted the PS1 BIOS file earlier into the BIOS folder, the game launches first time, and this will apply to our PS2 games as well. Now just to recap, when we want to add new games, we have to return to desktop mode, manually add our games into our ROMs folders, launch EmuDeck, launch the Steam ROM Manager, apply our cover art, and make sure to choose Save to Steam for our games to appear inside gaming mode. So I hope this video was helpful, and I have many more guides listed in the description and on the way for advanced customization with EmuDeck and emulation on the Steam Deck in SteamOS. All of what you've seen in this video today will apply to other devices running SteamOS, Bazzite and CashieOS. So please stay tuned to the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, please give the video a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this video with others. If you have any questions regarding EmuDeck, please drop a comment below, and we can all try to help one another. Until the next video, thanks for your time, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.